What if I told you that Dismal Disney had a very obvious problem, one that they're well aware of, and I don't think they know how to fix? I'm not the only one that's talking about this. News outlets are. Of course, WDW Pro, that Park Place, we all talk about it here. But what's worse is that you have outlets like The Guardian that are starting to notice. Honey, I lost the kids. Is Generation Z done with Disney? Well, that's actually the headline from the Guardian article that we're about to explore. In an aptly titled article here, Honey, I Lost the Kids, is Generation Z done with Disney? The answer to that question is I think so. Not only that, I think they're less likely to be engaged in the future, and I think they're less than likely to get their kids on top of this, especially as the modern franchises that they would normally latch onto, as will be referenced in this article here, are starting to destroy themselves and become less and less interesting as time goes on. So, the company's recent fan convention was conspicuously lacking in young people, but it has plans to re enchant them. I don't think those plans are working. Taking a look at the article written by Lois Beckett, I guess was in Anaheim, California, said Disney superfans traveled from 36 countries in all 50 states to take part in the company's biennial fan conference in Anaheim, California. Next year, it'll be in Florida. The sold out event attracted a diverse crowd. I hate this. With tens of thousands, with Moanas, Tianas, and Maleficents mixing with Wolverines and Darth Vaders because people actually cosplay at this thing. What's funny is San Diego Comic Con was only a few weeks before this, and it seemed like there were many more people there, although also thinned out. One group, of course, was not well represented young people between the ages of 12 and 27, also known as Generation Z. The demographics of the Disney's D23 fan conference put a spotlight on the question that has been simmering on message boards, in social media videos, and conversations among older Disney superfans. Is Gen Z simply less excited about Disney? Yes. And we can talk about all the panels that were held. In fact, this goes on to talk about that. But it seems like, according to one of the people interviewed, kids these days are too into their iPads or too into influencers, Nancy Sanchez said. Many kids seem to be trying to develop a whole personality about them trying to grow up faster. And while that may be true, I think you could probably agree, people my age in their 50s and older will probably also be able to say they tried to grow up too fast too. It's just we didn't have everything at our fingertips all at once. If we wanted to find something out, we likely had to go somewhere else to get the information, which usually meant a trip outside on your bicycle to go somewhere. This generation, it doesn't have any of those inconveniences. Of course, the next person in line was Sammy Wild, 22. A Disney fan from Orlando, Florida, said that Gen Z appeared to be less into the Walt Disney classic films than previous generations, but they were still excited about other Disney owned franchises, from Marvel movies to Star Wars. Now, I will say that as this journalist went and interviewed people that were involved in this convention, what they didn't realize is these are the super fans of that generation, which is telling, disturbing, and for Disney, terrifying. Another factor in Gen Z's relationship with Disney, Wild said, how expensive things are. Yeah, things are expensive in the world. You're part of the reason that they are. You're selecting leaders that are pushing everything to a point where we're basically being driven to the breadlines in a manner of speaking. There's a problem here because everything's going up in cost because everything's being handed out and it's not necessarily being handed out to you, right? The tickets for the Ultimate Fan event were a point of contention for everybody. Doesn't matter what generation, but particularly for Z because they don't make quite as much money. Tickets for the fan event were uh, nearly $100 a day, though the premium packages for the weekend cost about $2,600 per person. And believe me, with special events and other things that you could opt into, it was much, much more expensive. In years past, when I've gone to this, I've been known to spend equal to a week's vacation on just this simple 3-day event. And I like nice vacations. Tickets to Disney theme parks, meanwhile, start between $100 and $200, which is also far too high, by the way. And the company now charges a range of additional fees to access shorter lines, which are making it less and less appealing to normal consumers. One outside analyst estimated that the cost of an average Disney vacation for a family of four has increased nearly 25% since 2019, even after adjusting for inflation, which is ridiculous, which probably means it's gone up 50% or more because Disney never lags behind inflation. In fact, we have a comparison chart for that I'll probably be using in my next video. One of my next videos coming out here in the near future, talking about can you afford a Disney vacation? Probably not was the answer I came up with, and you'll see why in that video. But living in Orlando, where Disney World is located, Wild said she knows young people who are Disney cast members, but who don't earn enough to afford a Disney experience at the full ticket price. Well, that's most of America now, folks. That's just the way of the world, or Disney World for that matter. A question of platforms. Well, I think younger people are bound to their digital devices. So they are preferring things that are shorter. This is an audience that is heavily on their devices, said a person named Ayaz. Disney is making sure that not only do they have the right kind of movies and shows for this important audience, but also making sure we are on platforms where Gen Z spends the most amount of time, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat or gaming. Well, I would say they're losing to YouTube. I didn't see YouTube in there, although they did talk about it in a previous paragraph. Disney currently touts 14 million followers on the Gen Z favorite TikTok, compared to its 54 million followers on Facebook. Those are the older people. The platform, now perceived in the US as the most popular with older people, is a rather telling demographic indeed. You have 40 million folks on Instagram, and that's more millennial driven, not Gen Z. So they're losing favor in Gen Z. That's the only way you can interpret this particular data. Look at these adults swinging. Anyway, so in the sign of Disney's efforts, and in a video that you'll see that I recently released, about $1.5 billion was invested in a partnership with Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite, to create a whole new universe for Disney to explore, complete with islands that tap into every single one of their franchises and making them more accessible and making it easier to spend money on merchandise that doesn't exist in the real world. And maybe some that does. Disney's also working with Gen Z content creators on TikTok to produce viral videos reaching a different generation. I'm not sure how viral, because one of the things I don't see in any of my feeds are Disney TikTokers, which is weird. Matthew Ho, who's 22, was quoted as saying fandom was a really big thing with millennials. And then he said, but it's not like the new thing. That's actually true. What Gen Z want? As I mentioned before, a consumer research study found that younger viewers prefer social media videos rather than any other form of video content because their brains are set up for short attention span theater because they've been trained that way. Because parents used screens to babysit their children and put them in front of things that lasted just a few minutes instead of a few hours. You have to be trained to watch television and film. You have to be trained to have a long attention span. And of course, obviously, reading books would be preferred to any kind of screen. They would also be preferred to television or movies. Regardless, the lack of attention span means that these particular customers or consumers are not ideal for the preferred methods of delivering commercial material. Those things that, air between the television programs and stuff like that. Younger consumers also want their entertainment experiences to be interactive and authentic, which is why you're here. Hi, everybody. We can interact. We can also interact on live streams and in a lot of other ways as well, including various watch parties and social media that we share just because we hang out together on channels like mine. they like those types of things, but they don't seem to engage with them for very long because they lose interest. But Disney has kind of turned this into a different thing, trying to make their attractions more interactive and also trying to get people to engage in the attraction in addition to just enjoying the experience itself. Interactive laser guns on Buzz Lightyear seems to have drawn attention, as does the uh, Toy Story Midway Mania attraction, where you fire little darts at everything around you. And one of the things that annoys us the most as our older generations is the sequels, the prequels, the threequels, the rebootquels, the remakes, the interquels, you name it. We hate it, but Gen Z seems to enjoy it, which is why they think that Inside Out 2 was successful. And it's why we're going to get 5 Toy Story movies in all. We're going to get another couple of Frozen films and a whole lot of other things that, well, there are several generations that just aren't going to care. A 17-year-old self-described theater kid named Mari Earnshaw said she and her friends were definitely more enthusiastic about the Disney classic films than many of their peers. She wasn't surprised that few people her age had showed up for a behind-the-scenes style fan event. And again, that's a person that's engaged in entertainment. You are going to get what you look for at an event like this, which is people who are super fans and are there for a reason. And ultimately, as we get to the close of the article, we have a segment here that says the $1,000,000 question, which I guess is one that Smith has posed, whoever Smith is, was whether Gen Z might simply be temporarily less interested in Disney as a result of their age group, or whether their taste might actually have shifted more permanently. My suggestion is Disney has abandoned its ability to hook generation after generation because it's abandoned the family. When you do that, there's no incentive to take that annual trip to Disney to reinforce all of the properties and IPs that you own. So for Disney, it may be you reap what you sow. And honestly, the question that I'll leave you with, and I think the author here would as well, is Gen Z just lost to Disney at this point? Are they losing them? Is there a way to bring them back? Well, you would have had to have remained a family company in order to keep that habit reinforced generation after generation. But hey, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below, and check out all the other great videos that we've dropped recently. We've got a lot of Dismal Disney videos here, including some real lawsuit problems that they have that I don't think are going away, including some forced, I guess, arbitration or something similar in order to try to force an outcome before Disney gets incredibly embarrassed. And while you're down there making your brilliant comments, be sure to hit the like button, share. Make sure you're subscribed and turn on all notifications so you don't miss anything. There's nothing wrong with sharing my video around. I think people would like to see it. At least I hope so. Anyway, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya.